Late into the night, the mansion was completely silent, wrapped in a cool, dark fog. Jenny was walking past the private study when she noticed the heavy wooden door slightly open. Inside, Lisa was standing near the floor-to-ceiling glass window, staring out at the dark courtyard with a glass of water in her hand. Her shoulders looked unusually heavy, as if carrying the weight of the entire world. Jenny knocked softly on the doorframe before stepping inside. "Is everything all right, Lisa?" Jenny asked quietly. Lisa turned her head slightly, her shadow casting long across the carpet. "I couldn't sleep. My mind is too noisy tonight." "Do you want to talk about it?" Jenny asked, stepping closer to stand beside her near the window. "Or would you prefer to be alone?" Lisa looked at Jenny for a long moment. Usually, she would push anyone away who tried to get close, but looking into Jenny's soft, understanding eyes, Lisa's defenses began to crumble. "I wasn't always like this, Jenny," Lisa spoke, her voice lower and softer than Jenny had ever heard before. "I wasn't born a Mafia boss." Jenny stayed completely silent, giving Lisa the space to speak. "Years ago, before I took over this organization, I trusted someone completely," Lisa confessed, staring into the dark night. "I thought of them as family. I gave them my loyalty, my protection, and my complete trust. But when things got dangerous, they sold me out to my enemies for money." Lisa's grip tightened around her glass until her knuckles turned white. "I barely survived that night," Lisa continued, her tone laced with old bitterness. "That was the day I learned a harsh lesson. Trust makes you weak. People will always betray you when the price is right. So I built walls around myself. I became ruthless, cold, and cruel, because that was the only way to ensure no one could ever hurt me again." Jenny listened to every single word, her heart breaking for the pain Lisa had carried all alone for so many years. She didn't look at Lisa with fear or judgment, only pure warmth and empathy. "I'm sorry you had to go through that, Lisa," Jenny said softly. "It must have been so lonely carrying that pain by yourself." "It protected me," Lisa insisted, though her voice wavered slightly. "It kept me alive." Jenny took a small step closer, looking straight into Lisa's sharp eyes. "Being hurt by someone you trusted is terrible," Jenny said gently. "But Lisa, being hurt doesn't mean you have to become cruel. Holding on to all that bitterness doesn't protect you. It just keeps you trapped in the dark." Lisa blinked, her chest tightening. A sudden lump formed in her throat, and an overwhelming surge of emotion rose up within her. She quickly looked away toward the floor, trying desperately to hide the quiet tears brimming in her eyes. She had sworn to herself never to show weakness again. Instead of pointing it out, Jenny simply reached out her hand. Softly and deliberately, Jenny placed her small fingers over Lisa's trembling hand. Lisa froze at the sudden warmth. Every instinct in her body told her to pull back, to rebuild her cold wall, to stay guarded. But as she looked down at their joined hands, she couldn't bring herself to pull away. For the first time in years, Lisa let someone close. They stood together in the quiet room, holding hands as the heavy silence washed over them with a deep, comforting warmth. Lisa looked at Jenny's soft profile under the dim moonlight. The cold calculation was completely gone from her mind. In that quiet, intimate moment, Lisa realized something that changed everything. She was no longer thinking about Jenny as a transaction, a business deal, or the debt. To Lisa, Jenny had become the light in her dark world. The heavy doors of the study opened as Jenny's uncle, Mr. Kim, walked in nervously. He wiped sweat from his forehead as he looked around the luxurious room, finally locking eyes with Lisa. "Miss Lisa," Mr. Kim began, his voice trembling slightly. "Thank you for seeing me. I am in desperate need of another favor. I need money to clear a few remaining debts." Lisa sat behind her large oak desk, her eyes cold and piercing. "You signed your niece over to clear your debt, Mr. Kim. You received your payment. Why are you here again?" "Just a little extra, please," he begged. "I left her luxury clothes and her mother's vintage jewelry with you as collateral. Surely that's worth more." Unbeknownst to her uncle, Jenny had been walking past the study carrying a tray of tea. Hearing his voice, she froze outside the door, her heart sinking. "Collateral?" Lisa questioned, her tone turning sharp. "You didn't just leave those items here, Mr. Kim. My investigators checked your financial records. You deliberately took out loans in Jenny's name using her identity and her mother's heirlooms." Mr. Kim shifted uncomfortably. "She's my family. She owed me for taking care of her." "You didn't sell her to save yourself?" Lisa said coldly, standing up. "You used her name to make a profit. You betrayed her before you even stepped foot in this mansion." Outside, Jenny felt her world shatter. Tears spilled over her eyelashes as the painful truth sank in. Pushing the door open, she stepped into the room, her voice trembling with raw grief. "How could you?" Jenny whispered, looking at him with utter betrayal. Mr. Kim paled. "Jenny, you shouldn't be listening." "I trusted you," Jenny cried, tears streaming down her cheeks. "When my parents died, you were all I had left. I came here willingly because I thought I was saving your life, but you were just using me." Seeing Jenny sob uncontrollably sent a surge of hot, violent anger through Lisa's chest. Lisa stepped around her desk and signaled her guards. "Guards," Lisa commanded, her voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "Take him down to the basement. He will pay for every tear he made her cry." As two guards grabbed his arms, Jenny rushed forward and caught Lisa's sleeve. "Lisa, stop, please!" Jenny pleaded, her voice breaking. Lisa looked down in shock. "Jenny, he ruined your life. He used you and threw you away. Let me handle him. He deserves to suffer for what he did to you." Jenny shook her head firmly, her tear-filled eyes looking into Lisa's cold gaze. "I don't want revenge. Hurting him won't fix my heart, and it won't bring back my trust. I just want him out of my life forever." Lisa stared at Jenny, completely stunned. In her dangerous world, betrayal was always met with vengeance. Lisa signaled the guards to stop. "Throw him out of the estate gates," Lisa ordered sternly. "If he ever steps foot near Jenny again, kill him." The guards dragged the screaming uncle away, leaving the study in complete silence. Jenny stood near the desk, her shoulders shaking with quiet sobs. Lisa slowly walked over, standing quietly by her side to offer comfort. Lisa looked at Jenny's gentle, weeping form under the soft light. Lisa had spent her life believing that pain turned everyone cold and bitter, just like it had turned her. But standing here with Jenny, Lisa realized the profound truth. Jenny's heart was completely different from hers. Where Lisa saw revenge, Jenny saw peace. And for the first time in her life, Lisa found herself admiring a heart so soft that even the darkest cruelty couldn't corrupt it. While reviewing Jenny's personal documents in her office, Lisa happened to notice a date on her identification card. Jenny's birthday was coming up in just 2 days. Later that afternoon, Lisa walked out into the courtyard where Jenny was watering the flowers. "Is your birthday really this Friday?" Lisa asked casually, leaning against the archway. Jenny stopped her watering can, looking up with a soft, quiet expression. "Yes. How did you know?" "I saw your file," Lisa replied, stepping closer. "Are you doing anything special? Do you want to order a specific cake or invite anyone over?" Jenny gave a small, sad smile and shook her head softly. "No, Lisa, I don't celebrate my birthday anymore." "Why not?" "My parents were the only ones who ever made it special," Jenny explained in a gentle voice, looking down at the flowers. "Ever since they passed away, the day just feels like a reminder of what I lost. It's easier to treat it like any other normal day." Lisa stayed silent, taking in Jenny's words. She didn't push the topic further, but in her mind, a quiet plan began to take shape. On Friday evening, Jenny walked downstairs toward the main living room, expecting the usual quiet. When she stepped through the double doors, she gasped, freezing in her tracks. The living room had been transformed. Warm, soft fairy lights twinkled along the grand balcony. Gentle golden candles flickered on the coffee table, and fresh white lilies, her favorite flowers, filled several elegant vases around the room. Lisa was standing near the fireplace wearing a simple black sweater, holding a small wrapped box. "Lisa," Jenny whispered, her eyes wide with shock. "What is all this?" "I know you said you didn't want to celebrate," Lisa said softly, walking over to her. "But I couldn't let today pass like it was nothing." Jenny looked around the glowing room, her heart swelling with overwhelming emotion. "You did all this for me?" "I had the staff help with the lights," Lisa admitted, a tiny smirk touching her lips before turning serious. "And I have something for you." Lisa extended the small velvet box toward Jenny. Hand trembling slightly, Jenny took the box and unclasped the lid. Inside lay a delicate silver locket. When Jenny opened the locket, tears immediately filled her eyes. Inside were two beautifully restored microphotographs, one of her parents smiling together, and on the opposite side, a photo of Jenny as a little girl sitting on her mother's lap. "I found the old photo album in your uncle's house among your mother's belongings," Lisa explained gently, her voice full of tenderness. "The photos were damaged, so I had a specialist clean them up and place them inside." Jenny stared at the tiny pictures, tears spilling over her eyelashes and running down her cheeks. For years she had felt disconnected from her past, but holding this gift made her feel like a piece of her family was back with her. She threw her arms around Lisa's neck, pulling her into a tight, warm hug. Lisa completely froze. Her body went stiff, her breath catching in her throat. She hadn't been hugged like this in over a decade. Every instinct told her to pull back, but as she felt Jenny's soft sobs against her shoulder and the genuine warmth of her hold, Lisa relaxed. Slowly, Lisa raised her arms and wrapped them gently around Jenny's waist, holding her close as the fire crackled beside them. "Thank you, Lisa," Jenny whispered into her neck, holding her tight. "Thank you so much." After a quiet evening together, Jenny excused herself to go to her room, clutching the silver locket closely to her chest. Lisa remained in the quiet living room as the warm fairy lights glowed around her. The mansion felt peaceful. Standing alone by the fireplace, Lisa slowly raised her hand to her shoulder, lightly touching the exact spot where Jenny had pressed her face during the hug. A soft, genuine smile spread across Lisa's lips in the dark room, a smile she hadn't worn in years. In the shadows of the city's underworld, word had spread among Lisa's rival organizations. The icy, untouchable Mafia queen had a vulnerability. Her name was Jenny. Late in the afternoon, while Jenny was returning to the estate under guard, a heavily armed convoy ambushed her vehicle. Before the guards could react, Jenny was forcefully pulled into a black van and driven away into the dark. When Marcus delivered the news to the mansion, Lisa didn't just get angry, she completely lost her usual cold composure. She slammed her hands onto her desk, her eyes wide with uncharacteristic panic. The quiet, calculated leader was nowhere to be seen. Only raw, desperate fury remained. "Mobilize every single agent we have," Lisa commanded, her voice trembling with intense emotion. "Shut down the borders, monitor every camera, and search every warehouse in this city. If anyone touches a hair on her head, I will tear this city apart brick by brick." Her entire organization moved into high alert. For the first time, her men saw their boss truly terrified, not for herself, but for someone else. Within hours, Lisa tracked down the exact location of her rival's hideout, an abandoned industrial warehouse by the harbor. Refusing to wait for backup units to clear the area, Lisa personally armed herself and headed straight into enemy territory. Inside the dark, cold warehouse, Jenny was tied to a wooden chair, surrounded by hostile men. Though frightened and trembling, she kept her head held high, refusing to let them see her break. Suddenly, the heavy metal doors were kicked open. Lisa burst into the room like a storm, neutralizing the guards with lethal precision and speed. The rival leader barely had time to react before Lisa disarmed him, leaving him pinned to the floor in utter defeat. Dropping her gun, Lisa rushed over to Jenny. Her hands shook as she cut the heavy ropes binding Jenny's wrists. "Jenny, are you hurt? Did they touch you?" Lisa asked frantically. her voice raspy and panicked as she searched Jenny's face for injuries. Jenny shook her head softly, tears welling up in her eyes. "I'm okay, Lisa. I'm okay." Without another word, Lisa pulled Jenny into her arms, lifting her off her feet and carrying her out of the burning building into the safety of the night. Back at the mansion, the doctors checked Jenny and confirmed she was physically unharmed. Late that night, Lisa stood in Jenny's bedroom, pacing back and forth near the balcony. Her face was pale and her breathing was still heavy, as if the danger hadn't passed. "Lisa, please sit down," Jenny said gently from the edge of her bed. "It's over now. I'm safe." Lisa stopped pacing and turned to her. For the first time since they had met, Lisa looked completely vulnerable. Tears glistened in her dark eyes. "You don't understand, Jenny," Lisa choked out, stepping closer. "When I heard they took you, my heart stopped. I couldn't think. I couldn't breathe. I was completely terrified." "Lisa, I have faced guns, betrayal, and death 100 times," Lisa whispered, her voice breaking. "And I was never scared. But today, I was utterly terrified of losing you." Jenny looked up into Lisa's eyes, her own heart pounding in her chest. She reached out, placing her small hand over Lisa's trembling wrist. "Why would you be scared to lose someone like me?" Jenny asked quietly. Lisa froze. She stared down at Jenny's soft, tear-streaked face, the heavy silence lingering between them in the quiet room. For the first time in her life, the powerful Mafia queen had no answer. In the days following the warehouse rescue, a strange shift came over the mansion. Instead of drawing closer, Lisa suddenly pulled back. She stopped having meals in the main dining room, spent long hours locked away in her private office, and left the estate early every morning before Jenny even woke up. Whenever they happened to pass each other in the wide stone hallways, Lisa would briefly nod and quickly walk away, avoiding all eye contact. Jenny noticed every small change. Sitting alone in the silent courtyard, a cold weight settled inside her chest. She regrets it, Jenny thought, her heart aching. She almost got hurt saving me, and now she regrets protecting me. Unable to bear the cold distance any longer, Jenny decided to stop running. Late that evening, when she heard Lisa's heavy footsteps heading toward the private study, Jenny stepped directly into the doorway, blocking her path. Lisa stopped in her tracks, her hand hovering near the door handle. "Jenny, it's late. You should be resting." "Why are you running away from me, Lisa?" Jenny asked directly, her soft voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. Lisa shifted her gaze toward the wall. "I'm not running away. Work has been demanding." "That's a lie," Jenny said softly, taking a step closer. "Ever since that night at the warehouse, you barely look at me. Did protecting me become too much of a burden? Do you regret saving me?" Lisa's head snapped toward Jenny, her dark eyes flashing with genuine shock. "Regret saving you? Jenny, how could you even think that?" "Because you're treating me like a mistake." Jenny's eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You pulled me into your world, you protected me, and now you treat me like a ghost. Am I just something you own? A piece of property you feel obligated to guard?" The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. The cold mask she worked so hard to maintain completely shattered. She took a fast step forward, closing the distance between them until they were standing inches apart. "I don't own you, Jenny," Lisa said, her voice dropping into a raw, intense whisper. "And I stopped seeing you as a debt a long time ago." Jenny took a quiet, shuddering breath, looking straight into Lisa's vulnerable eyes. "Then what am I to you, Lisa?" Jenny whispered softly. "If I'm not a debt, then what am I?" The heavy silence stretched between them in the dimly lit hallway. Lisa looked down at Jenny's trembling lips, her heart pounding violently against her ribs. The single word, love, weighed heavily on her tongue, terrifying in its magnitude. For someone who had built her entire life on power, control, and fear, confessing love felt like surrendering the last piece of her armor. Lisa slowly reached out her hand, her knuckles lightly brushing against Jenny's warm cheek. Jenny closed her eyes, leaning slightly into the tender touch. For a fleeting second, time seemed to stand still, the unspoken emotion hanging thick and sweet in the air between them. Slowly, Lisa pulled her hand back. She looked at Jenny one last time, her eyes filled with an unbearable depth of affection she couldn't yet put into words. "Good night, Jenny," Lisa murmured softly. Before Jenny could say another word, Lisa turned around and walked down the quiet corridor, leaving Jenny standing in the dim light, holding on to the silent promise behind Lisa's eyes. Tensions in the underworld had reached a boiling point. The feud with the rival syndicate was tearing through the city, threatening every supply line and territory under Lisa's control. Late in the evening, an ultimatum arrived at the estate. The rival leader offered a single deal to end the war: hand Jenny over to them, and all conflict between the two organizations would instantly cease. Inside the mansion's grand meeting hall, Lisa sat at the head of a long mahogany table, surrounded by her top lieutenants and advisors. The atmosphere was heavy with argument and rising anger. "Miss Lisa, with all due respect, this war is costing us men and millions in revenue every day," one of the senior advisors argued, slamming his hand on the table. "They aren't asking for our territory. They are asking for one civilian, a girl who was brought here simply to clear her uncle's debt." "Watch your tone," Marcus warned from near the door. "No, he's right to ask," another lieutenant spoke up. "Are we truly putting the safety of our entire organization at risk for just one girl? Since when does the Mafia queen compromise everything for an outsider?" Lisa sat in silence, her dark eyes scanning the faces of her loyal men. She remained still, her expression impassive, but her silence only fueled the anxiety in the room. Unbeknownst to anyone inside, Jenny was standing in the shadowy corridor outside the heavy double doors, having come to check on Lisa after hearing about the emergency meeting. Her heart pounded against her ribs as she listened to the men debating her fate. She braced herself, half expecting Lisa to consider the deal to protect her syndicate. Inside the hall, Lisa slowly stood up from her chair. The room instantly fell dead silent. "Jenny is not a transaction," Lisa's voice echoed through the hall, sharp as a blade and dripping with unwavering authority. "And she is not an outsider." The senior advisor frowned. "Boss, she is a liability. The enemies see her as your weakness." "Then let them make that mistake," Lisa countered, leaning over the table, her gaze piercing every man present. "She is not my weakness. She is someone I have chosen to protect with everything I have. If any of you think I will hand an innocent person over to my enemies to save my own skin, you don't know who I am. The war stays. We hit them back twice as hard tonight." Outside the door, Jenny pressed a hand over her mouth as tears welled in her eyes. The heavy burden of doubt and fear that had weighed on her for weeks instantly dissolved. Lisa wasn't holding on to her out of obligation or pride. She truly cared. Later that night, after the meeting adjourned and the lieutenants dispersed to execute Lisa's orders, Lisa walked back to her private study, exhausted. As she opened the door, she found Jenny waiting for her inside, standing by the soft glow of the desk lamp. "Jenny?" Lisa stopped in her tracks, her sharp eyes softening. "You should be asleep. It's dangerous tonight." "I heard what you said in the meeting hall," Jenny said gently, her voice steady and warm as she took a slow step toward Lisa. Lisa shifted her eyes, slightly uncomfortable. "Jenny, you didn't need to hear all that political—" "I needed to hear it, Lisa," Jenny interrupted softly, coming to a stop directly in front of her. She reached out, her fingers lightly brushing against Lisa's hand. Lisa looked into Jenny's eyes, seeing no fear, no hesitation, only pure, genuine trust. Jenny took a quiet breath, looking straight into Lisa's heart. "I don't want to be your debt anymore," Jenny said softly, a gentle smile gracing her lips. "I want to be someone you choose.